Shermika, great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, to start, can you share a bit about your role and how innovation, brand, and insights come together in your work at Kimberly-Clark?
Yes. So, in my present role as an innovation leader of Brand and Insights, I'm responsible for being a little bit of a futurist, if you will, Evan. So, I'm looking out from the next 3 to 5 years to see what key demand spaces we should play in. Also, really taking consumer sentiment and insights just to understand what are the issues and pain points our consumers are having, translate that into what we would call jobs to be done. And then naturally create new innovation pathways that are excelling the business and will grow the business in the future.
Super interesting. How has the role of innovation and insights evolved over the past few years?
I would say it's evolved because a lot of companies initially had innovation departments and then they transitioned away from innovation departments and now it's coming back because in a market that is so fragmented with the share losses, you have more challenger and insurgent brands. You definitely need people at the forefront who work very closely with the brand teams, have brand management experience and an overall general management mindset to really create that innovation pathways just to grow businesses over time. So I would say that's ultimately how innovation has evolved. And I would probably venture to say it probably will continue to grow, like more consumer branded companies will continue to accelerate their innovation departments.
Definitely makes sense. And how, throughout your innovation, do you distinguish between a short-term trend and a meaningful shift worth investing in?
That is a little bit of an art and a science and really balancing strategy. So sometimes we don't know what will be a short term trend, but my responsibility is to take a bet on what I would say the long term bets. So I'm not necessarily focused on short term wins. I'm focused on long term gains. How can I continue to be a market leader, dominate over competitors, and also from those, think about newer brands that are coming into the marketplace. So continue to drive share. So long term bets, I would say.
And turning those insights into action requires more than just good ideas. It requires translating insights into decisions and executions. So, how do you ensure insights are actionable across different teams, such as brand, product, and marketing?
One of the ways to determine insights are actionable is working very closely with the insights team. So, being a key stakeholder, not just a key stakeholder, but a partner. So, how do we translate those insights and more so getting buy in at the leadership level? So, even higher than me, those leaders, so they can understand what are those insights? What do we need to be playing to our strengths? Where are some of our weaknesses? How can we actually fill that in? So, I would say it involves a little bit of marketing know-how with stakeholder management as well as a good storytelling to understand and impress upon the business leaders.
Yeah, definitely. And as you think about the role of the marketer and someone who's doing consumer insights, it's evolving. How do you think that the role of a marketer is evolving today compared to even a few years ago?
I would say the role of a marketer today is it is even more challenging. Some marketing is one of those professions, quite candidly, where a lot of people look at it and say, "Oh, I think I can do that," but it is a blend of an art and a science. It is not all about the creative, flashy graphics. It is really about running a business, and innovation is about that as well. So, understanding stakeholder value, understanding your consumer insights, where should you play to, also understanding the key financial drivers for the business. So marketers are becoming more generalists and really having to have that general management mindset. So you want to be a good steward of your brand and build your brand, but you also want to make sure that you're keeping the company's financials at the forefront. So I would say marketing has definitely become a little bit more different than it has than in the past, but in a good way though, in a good way, Evan.
Right. And what new skills would you say or capabilities are becoming essential for the marketers of today to succeed?
I always tell all of my mentees, which one of the good skills, which may or may not be popular. When I first started out in marketing, I was like, oh my God, it's so flashy. Like, I want to create all of these excellent campaigns. You have to know how to run a business as a marketer. So, really understanding capital governance. How do things impact your supply chain team, your demand planning team when you are introducing new brands, and just financial forecasts? So, that is super important just to be as close to the business as possible financial and have a firm financial foundation as a marketer.
Definitely. And in a crowded and competitive landscape, how can brands create more meaningful connections with consumers?
Be obsessed with the consumer.
Absolutely. And what role does, I guess, how do you ensure that a brand stays consistent while evolving with this consumer?
You have to stay consistent to your brand foundations, but I also think brands should not be caught up in this is what we've always done for the past 150 years, right? And Kimberly-Clark is a 150-year-old company, for example. So each brand has to evolve for the future. Now, you have new consumers coming into the marketplace. Think about Gen Z, Evan, multicultural consumers. So you have to make sure that your brand resonates with your target consumers because as they change, a brand has to evolve. It does not mean you stray away from your core brand identity and your brand heart, but you do have to evolve for the future. So I always say I have to think about what does that evolution look like in the next 3, 5, 10 years from that perspective. So really being very strategic, I would say, very strategic versus executional.
Right. And looking ahead as you look into the future, what are the areas of marketing or innovation you are the most excited about right now?
I am most excited about continuing to learn as much as I can about our consumers and customers because without them, there is no me as a marketing leader from that perspective. Understanding what are those new trends going to be? And then, as you talked about short and long term, what should I make those long term bets on? And it may sound like a buzzword, but I'm very excited about AI. I quite candidly, I love using AI and how could it help me be more of a skilled marketer, more productive, which frees me up to do more strategic tasks, more strategic level tasks. So I'm very excited about those things.
What are some examples of you using AI to speed up some of those manual tasks? And what do you believe that AI will not replace in terms of the strategic tasks?
So, hey, Copilot, happy Monday. Would you summarize all of my emails from the week and create me a to do list? So, that are some of the things that frees me up from maybe going through over 100 emails on a Monday morning from that perspective. Also, I've utilized AI to build consumer personas and then test those against qualitative insights when we have had research panels with our consumers just to see if it's along the right lines or if it's right. So I've been super enthused about that aspect.
So, do you believe the future of insights can be drawn towards synthetic audiences and AI moderated qual?
I've heard a little bit about that. I think it could be a strong possibility, but I do think the companies that will be advantageous, honestly, Evan, are those that if they are using agentic AIs for their panels, you will continue to validate that data. So you will still have some sort of sampling. We love AI, but we also don't want to take the humanness out of it because marketing is a profession that is very emotive as well.
Right. Absolutely. And lastly, what is the one mindset shift you believe marketers need to make moving forward?
Be curious. I would say just be open and be curious. And I had my former marketing professor in B school will always tell me this, and I always tell anyone who will listen to it is that you are not the market. So always be curious, know as much as you can about your consumer, and don't take your biases sometimes because we all have them, right? We're passionate about our brands, our products, our jobs. So be open and curious and be willing to evolve.
Love that. Well, Shermika, this has been a great conversation. Appreciate your perspective and insights. Looking forward to seeing where the industry goes next.
Thank you so much, Evan. Appreciate the time.